first became popular. And I had noticed that people started adding more hair onto their hair really after Bo Derek, an actress, started wearing braids, and she started wearing very long braids. And so I was just kind of inspired to just, again, remind our little girls that they have beautiful hair. Be it short, be it long, be it kinky, nappy, whatever it may be. The other reason I decided to write the book was because I thought it was so important for our children to understand that they could in fact reach their goals and manifest their destiny, because I had been reading a lot about that at that time. And I wanted them to have a plan so that they could reach their goals. So the first thing is you have to have a very strong desire, and this applies to adults as well. You have to have a very strong desire, and then you have to make a plan. After you make the plan, you have to act on the plan. After you act on the plan, you have to really, really believe that you can accomplish it. And all of these things happen within the book. And I wanted it to be an example to children everywhere that you can accomplish your goals. So she does it by getting her hair done. I also wanted to incorporate some African history, so that's in the book. And I also wanted to explain kind of briefly what Kwanzaa was. That's also in the book.
And Isabella knows that her time is coming up. Her part's coming up. We actually, I don't know if the viewers, hello everyone. And by the way, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to type those in the chat box. Leon may see them pop up. Our camera guy who's in the back there, who's been working really hard for us. Thank you, Leon. We see you. And we'll be happy to read any questions or comments, and they could be throughout the program, so feel free to raise your hand, ask questions, preferably type, because we won't be able to see you for this time around, but if you have any questions, feel free. And yes, my mother and I have been reading the book every night for the past week to Isabella, who is very close to the main character, Aisha's age. And it's been... Bella, why don't you tell Miss Eloise how you like the book? And can you kind of sit up so people can see you? I know you're tired. We've been working really hard in homeschool. What did you think about the book?
I like the book because...
And speak a little louder so the people can hear.
I like the book because it was an imagination.
And what was, remember you had your favorite part. What was your favorite part, remember? You were talking about when she was getting her hair done. Do you remember? She just wanted us to play in her hair, play with. She was so fascinated by that.
Now all I see is that.
Let's see what.
Light.
The light, yeah. We're getting used to the light. So what I thought we could do is actually just jump in with a little presentation about Kwanzaa from our little one. This is going to tell us a little bit about what Kwanzaa represents and what it means. And then I thought we could jump into a little bit of an in-depth discussion about the book and a little bit of a reading.
Okay.
That sound okay? All right. So Isabella, could you stand up and read and tell the people who are watching a little bit about what you've learned about Kwanzaa?
Okay.
First of all, what is Kwanzaa? Do you remember?
Kwanzaa is an African American celebration.
That's right. Celebrates our culture. And why don't you read to them what you've been studying for the past week about Kwanzaa?
Okay. The principles of Kwanzaa. The first day of Kwanzaa is called Umoja.
Speak a little louder too if you can.
The first day of Kwanzaa is called Umoja, which stands for unity. It takes place on December 26th. The second day of Kwanzaa is called Kujichagulia, which stands for self-determination. It takes place on December 27th. The third day of Kwanzaa is called Ujiba, which stands for collective work and responsibility. It takes place on December 28th. The fourth day of Kwanzaa is called Ujamaa, which stands for cooperative economics. It takes place on December 29th. The fifth day of Kwanzaa is called Nia, which stands for purpose. It takes place on December 30th.
A little louder, Bella, if you can. The microphone's right there.
Alright. The sixth day of Kwanzaa is called Kumba, which stands for creativity. It takes place on December 31st. The seventh day of Kwanzaa is called Inani, which stands for faith. It takes place on January 1st. Dad.
She dabbed you off. You can see that. Thank you, Isabella.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Can I just mention for moral support, we had Ava there also.
Yeah.
Hello, Mrs. Ava was going to read up with me, but only one person. Hello, humans.
The kids are here. And they're bye. And you're just to shout out your daughter, your child. She has a presentation on Kwanzaa on YouTube. What's her YouTube? Thank you, Bella.
Thank you.
What's her YouTube channel? Do you remember? If they could just find her.
Yes, her YouTube channel is eTeaches365, and she has a very good presentation on Kwanzaa. She explains all the principles and all the materials you need to set up for Kwanzaa.
Yeah, a lot of really good information. So let's jump into this amazing book that I think every child should read in Philadelphia and all around the world. It's an amazing book. I mean, I got chills just reading it and got emotional just reading it. And so I'm debating, do you want to kind of, because there's 2 pages I'd love for the viewers to hear. But, and just so you know, just so you maybe can have an understanding of what you might want to talk about before then, I'd love for you to read the part when Aisha, let me see, I have it right here, when she actually walks into the shop and realizes that the woman who she was working for was one of the locticians and the hair braiders. But before we read that part, can you just tell us a little bit about the main character, where it takes place, and sort of ground the viewers in what the book is about?
Okay, so as I said, it's about a little girl who wants to have her hair done. She actually sees a picture in a beauty salon window of a beautiful hairstyle, and she says, "Oh, I want to have that. I want to have my hair like that." Mm-hmm. And she goes home and she tells her mother she'd like to have the hairstyle. And then she actually goes back to the beauty salon to find out how much it cost, because she didn't know how much it cost. And then when she goes back and tells her mother the price, her mother says, "Oh no, that's too much. We can't afford that." And so again, Aisha shows determination and persistence and a very strong desire, because she says, "Well, I'm going to figure out a way to make this money so I can get my hair done." And she does, and she starts doing errands for people, for neighbors, and she also does more chores around the house. And this enables her to save up enough money. Now, one of the things that she does is she babysits for a lady who has a couple of boys, and her name is Miss Santua. And she makes enough money from that so that she can actually get her hair done. Mm-hmm. So the day that she goes into the beauty salon to get her hair done, she's very excited. And the lady who owns the salon tells her to go to the back room to get her hair done. And she goes back there and she's sitting and looking at pictures. And then to her great surprise, the lady that she was babysitting for, she actually is the braider for that salon. And she's actually the one who's doing her hair. And when Aisha looks up and sees her face, she can't believe it. She's like, "Oh." Mm-hmm. And she tells her, "You know what, I'll do your hair for free anytime you want me to, because you did such a good job watching little boys." And again, that was an example of what happens once you start working towards something very hard. You put all your energy into it. Things start happening. It's like the universe comes together to make sure that you even get more than you originally asked for. And I wanted to make sure that I put that in there, because that's really what happens, you know. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that was important to me was that she learned about who she was. And so Isabella had also told me that one of her favorite parts was the imagination and the kind of magic that was involved.
That's
So
right.
once Miss Antua starts braiding her hair, she falls asleep just like little girls do, like I used to do when I was getting my hair done. I still do it now sometimes. And she falls asleep, and the scene is set.
That's the part we're going to read though. So we don't want to. We don't want to. But I was just about to say the magic. You know, there's a time when she sees Miss Ida, and there's a stream of light going behind her, and I just thought this is like Harry Potter meets blackness meets hair meets black love. It was just so powerful. And so let's dig into this moment where Aisha finally goes to the shop and gets her hair done.
All right, so okay, when she first goes in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's on the I have it written here, top of page 11, and if we could stop at the bottom of page 12, I think that would be a great.
Okay, so you want me to read both pages?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess you're surprised to see me working here. Yes, Miss Antua, I didn't know that you worked here. And yes, well, I am the braiding specialist for Miss Ada's shop. I took the job about 3 months ago to make some extra cash for the holidays. I could use you again once a week, she said, as she began to examine Aisha's hair. Sure, I'll do it for you, said Aisha. By the way, keep your money. If you ever want your hair done, just let me know. I'll do it anytime. You did a great job with my boys. Now, let's see. Lean your head back and let me get started. You have a beautiful head of hair. It's coarse and thick. I see your crown. Your crown of glory is very healthy indeed. It is good to have coarse, thick hair. It will be perfect for this style. Aisha's eyes were as big as the buttons on her coat. She could not believe it. Thank you so much, Miss Antua. After she settled back down, Aisha told her about the trouble she was having with her hair. My hair just started growing again a few weeks ago. It was way shorter than this. I didn't know what to do. It will be all right. First, you must learn to really love your hair, Aisha. We're taught not to like the length and texture of our hair. The naps or kinks in our hair are really spirals. The spirals of your hair are like the spirals seen throughout nature, like the flow of waters, the way plants grow, the currents of wind in the ocean, the design of seashells, the shape of galaxies in the heavens, even the spirals on your fingertips. Many things are created in the form of a spiral. It shows unity and the way all of us are connected. Your hair is strong, and it protects the most important part of your body, your brain. While Miss Antua shampooed and conditioned Aisha's hair, she asked, Aisha, do you know anything about Africa? Do you know anything about your ancestry? Do you know who you are? Why, of course I know who I am. I'm Aisha Williams. I know I have ancestors too. My mom and dad talk about our ancestors who used to live down south, and sometimes they talk about our ancestors who were in Africa. Aisha listened as Miss Antua talked to her about the history of African people. Yes, you are an African-American young girl whose name is Aisha Williams. You are also a descendant from a long line of Africans who were stolen from Africa and brought here to America to work for another group of people. Hey, that's what my dad says. He says we were in a war and some of us were taken. He says we were prisoners of war, not slaves. Your dad is right. African people had great countries with beautiful cities and democratic government. They were very educated and taught people from other countries to read and to write. Their kingdoms had names like Mali, Songhai, Timbuktu, and Egypt. Africans were kings and queens and ruled thriving empires. As a matter of fact, African women and girls braided their hair and used natural hairstyles like locks, just like women and girls today. You know, Aisha, if you would like to have healthy long hair, you should lock it. Really? I don't know any other girls who wear their hair in locks. My mom's friend, Miss Carmen, wears locks. They look real pretty on her. But none of my friends have locks. Would my hair really grow? Aisha wanted more than anything for her hair to grow. Yes, your hair would really grow. I don't know about that. Sometimes it looks a little strange to me. Well, first, let's call your parents to see if they would allow me to lock your hair. Meanwhile, you can look in these books to see the beautiful locks you can have. I can start you off in a beautiful locked hairstyle that allows your hair to grow in its natural state. I won't cut your hair, and I'll show you how to take care of it by washing and moisturizing it. I can also make it look like the style in the window. Miss Santua called Aisha's mother and talked with her and her father about locking. She told them that she would take care of it for her initially and show her how to maintain the locks. They both said that it was okay. Aisha saw many styles that she liked in the books and decided on one that had gold jewelry on the locks. She felt her eyes try to close as Miss Santua placed a part in the center of her head and placed some essential oil in her scalp. Miss Santua began to hum a beautiful song, and the melody made Aisha sleepier as a smile appeared on her face. She went into a deep, deep sleep as oils were rubbed into her hair and gently massaged into her scalp. As Miss Santua massaged, she would twist small strands of her hair. Because of the location of the braiding chair, no one actually saw the glow of light that began to emanate from Miss Santua and surround Aisha and the chair. Then Aisha, Miss Santua, and the braiding chair began to rise. They rose above the hair salon, the old man's bar, and the candy store. They rose above the playground, their green and white house, and Holy Redeemer Church on the corner. They rose above the West Philly skies, skimming the clouds, following stars, and eventually they traveled back through time. Let's see what we can do to help you to grow and to make this hair grow, Miss Santua said, as they landed in a cloud of angel dust. They were in ancient Kemet, Egypt, in the temple of Queen Hatshepsut.
Whoa. That is amazing.
Aww.
Yes, that is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
The synchronicities that keep appearing in life, and I actually had missed that portion about West Philly.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I grew up in West Philly.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And there was that, you wrote that book about me too. Because I remember when the braids with the beads on the ends first became popular. I had my hair braided by a master braider at the time, who also lived in sort of the Northwest Philly section. Okay. And I remember when that hairstyle was, the name of the hairstyle was changed to the Bo Derek.
Right.
And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I went through all of those phases with making the decision to have my hair in a natural style.
Right.
Because I grew up with going to the hairdresser and getting my hair straightened.
Right. Yeah.
And I never liked it until it was time to go back again, because then it finally had more
Mhm.
fullness to it, more
Yeah.
body to it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's such a familiar journey of
Mhm.
wanting something else and wanting to connect back to my true self.
Right.
You know, looking in the mirror and seeing hair the way it grew out of my head, as opposed to altering it to look like someone else's,
Mhm.
was really a personal experience for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
And I just want to say, I was talking to Brandon earlier about remembering in West Philadelphia, especially in the summertime, when you'd oftentimes see the older girls braiding the younger girls' hair. You know, you put them down between your knees and you do the hairstyle, and sometimes you see the pain associated with it. Or sitting right on the steps and watching everyone go by, and it was just part of our culture, and I think it was such a beautiful bonding experience to have that done.
Yeah, it really was. And I remember my daughter doing that too. She used to braid little kids' hair on the block.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hearing these stories, we were talking earlier, and hearing these stories of how Philadelphia used to be and having it tied into this beautiful children's story, I feel this sort of grief and yearning for the village again, and how hair could be the center, part of the center of that, where women connect with young girls, whether it be their own daughter or another woman's daughter, and even the young man, as we see at the end of the book, the young man comes to get his hair braided by Aisha, actually. And this book just helps me understand what we may be missing as an African American community, and how do we go back to creating enough safety and love and container so that we can have these moments in public where we're caring for our hair, or where young girls can feel safe to go and connect with their hair and be in the community. So
it was very different. I grew up in South Philly and then moved to West Philly. And in both communities at that time, during that time, there was really more of a sense, of community, and in South Philadelphia, people sat on the marble steps. In West Philly, they still sat on the steps and on the porches. And, we communed together, the children, would be playing together and spending a lot of time outdoors playing, and, visiting other people's houses right on that block. And things have definitely changed now.
Yeah.
I can't visit that much.
That's right.
It's a little different. So, but I wanted to color. That's important too, because I really, really wanted to establish a neighborhood within the book that was very colorful. Because I always loved my neighborhood because it was so colorful, and there were such colorful people in the neighborhood, and you knew everybody. And, it wasn't like sterile like some of these neighborhoods you go into now, where it's, everybody's in their house. I mean, I love where I live now, but basically everyone just stays in their home, But I grew up at a time when people would, go to the candy store, and you knew the guy, who owned the shop and everything. And he might give you a little extra sometimes. And you would always hear music, and there was always children out or adults out dancing in the street, Not just constantly, but if they heard some music, they would start dancing. It was, just a very colorful neighborhood, and very positive. I wanted to get across this very positive community that was very supportive of children.
That's right. And that came across so strong.
Because that's how it was.
Yeah. And it was just beautiful to see how local Philadelphia in the 80s, which you told in this story, connected to ancient Egypt. And there was you created that bridge. And so I want to know, Queen Hatshepsut, let's talk about her, because I feel like you introduced this queen and pharaoh and king, some would say, to us. And so tell me, what was the inspiration for using her in the book?
Well, I was doing some research on African history and I came across this name. And it was just fascinating to me because that was, I guess that was during the 70s when I really found out about her. And I had a very good friend at the time. She's since deceased, but her name was Janet Collins. And she was an archaeologist, one of the few black archaeologists here in the city. And she was doing, real archaeological studies, field studies and everything. And she would talk a lot about these ancient African queens. And she mentioned Hatshepsut and told me a little bit about her, and I went a little further. But she wasn't really a queen. She was really the king of Egypt. But she would wear,
That's right.
a masculine headdress because she knew that people wouldn't be accepting of her as a woman, leading the country. And she was the first oceanographer. She also had her men to design this structure. It's called an obelisk now. But the original obelisk was her obelisk that was built in Egypt. And now if you go to Washington, D.C., there's another obelisk there. It's called the Washington Monument.
That's right.
But that was her. She was the original builder of that. She was the first oceanographer. She had, men build ships to travel around the world where they would do trades with different countries. And, she was just a bad lady. I think the most impressive thing to me was that she actually united Upper and Lower Egypt. The first time in history it was ever united. And it stayed that way for 20 years.
No war for 20 years.
There were no wars in Egypt for 20 years. So to me that says a lot. And I wanted to, again, have our young children have that understanding that we do have great kings and queens in our history. That's who we come from, greatness. And I think it's very important that our children have that understanding.
Yeah. And you've been connected to Egypt. And, I've been a little less connected with Egypt. I've kind of rolled my eyes a lot whenever my mom starts talking about Egypt because, it's been so colonized in how we see Egyptians. We don't see them as Africans. They're always so light in our media, and so whenever someone talks about Egypt and sort of relates it to our own heritage, I'm like, but Mom, I have a question for you. Like, what is it like to now be sitting next to Eloise? And there's been so many coincidences.
Oh my goodness. Even today, we went for a walk in the woods next to the house. And Isabella and Ava went to the swing that was placed by one of our neighbors, and a falcon came and swooped right past them and landed on the tree not far away.
Oh my God.
And sat there, and then they walked toward it, and it didn't fly away. And then they went off to a different part of the park. And we went to find them because they went a little bit beyond where we could see. And they were standing there looking up in the tree. I'm like, what are you guys looking at? And I said, the falcon. It's
Watching
right there.
them play. Yeah.
It was right there.
It was massive.
God.
And the
So
falcon,
I was getting ready to say, they're huge, aren't they?
Yes. So we came home and I looked up the spiritual significance of the falcon. And then something said, look and see how it relates to ancient Egypt. And it means king.
Wow.
It relates to Horus.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just, it just keeps going. It just keeps going on and on and on. That we are now is then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your story about getting off the train after you had been talking about her and seeing her. And we had this very similar experience, going places and seeing her right after you told her. So it just feels ancestral. It feels, without getting too woo-woo, I just feel that the ancestors, and she's an ancestor of ours, are asking us to see them and know them and call their names, speak their names. We talk about politically saying the names of people who have been murdered by the police. but we also have to say the names of those people who've influenced us and who've created civilizations who share our DNA. We have to say their names and remember them as well. And so this book is a testimony to her work as well. And to all the girls who are coming, you know, who now have someone to look up to because of this book.
Oh. Yeah, it was quite an experience. I was actually in Manhattan working with my illustrator, Ansel Pitcairn, and he's a phenomenal artist. And my niece had decided she was going to meet me and we could go to lunch and then go to the museum. And so, you know, I met her downtown after meeting with Ansel. And we were on a train, we got on a train to take us to the Museum of Modern Art. And we got off the train and I started walking up the steps. And, you know, you have to, like I was telling you, you have to understand, no one had ever heard of Hatshepsut. Whenever I would say that name to people, they were like, who? You know,
they know Cleopatra,
yeah, they know everybody
Nefertiti.
else.
Yeah.
They weren't really familiar with Hatshepsut. So, and I had to tell my illustrator a lot about her. So anyway, I'm walking up the steps to get ready to go to the museum because there was an artist there that my niece wanted to see. And I'm just walking up the steps and I get to the top of the steps and all of a sudden I see these huge flags that say Hatshepsut, Hatshepsut, all beautiful colors, Hatshepsut, 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 all around. And I just said, wait a minute, where am I? I could not believe that was happening. And so come to find out, there was an exhibit of all of her artifacts in the Museum of Modern Art. And I went in there and it was like 2 floors all about Queen Hatshepsut. And I just felt like I was, I don't know, in another dimension or something. I just couldn't believe this was happening. But it was confirmation to me that she really wanted people to know about who she was. And I found out later on that that exhibit was going to different museums throughout the country, you know, to introduce people to her. So.
And people can learn more about her. We have an artist who will be displaying some of his work, and he knows all about Kemet society in ancient Egypt. So he'll be able to share that information with us, and that will most likely be in January when we present his work. So that'll be coming.
David Lawrence.
David Lawrence. Yes. Amazing artist.
Yes.
Look him up. David Lawrence if you're in
And he
Philadelphia.
actually has a piece that is called Hatshepsut.
And that was the first piece that we were introduced to when we went to his gallery.
Yes.
She's amongst us. She's amongst us. So, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask Ms. Eloise?
I didn't have questions, just more of the confirmation about it and the strange, wonderful coincidences of the house. The colors of the house that you mentioned in your book are the colors of this house. And locks in West Philadelphia, and how that has over the past close to 30 years, how things have changed so much, and how Philadelphia, especially because of some of our tragic history with some of the groups that wore their hair in locks, and how that affected people's opinion about wearing their hair that way. So much of it happened here. And so here we are trying to set the record straight and give some healing and some education about what this style means, what having the natural hair means. So it's quite an honor. It's quite a coincidence and quite a blessing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought maybe we could close with a little bit of more reading from the book. And I don't have a suggestion. I mean, we could close with the last page or whatever you want to read. But I just want to say, ask one more question, specifically about Kwanzaa, because you know it's the way that you wrote the book. The Kwanzaa principles are so beautifully etched throughout the entire book. I mean, you're not hitting people over the face with Kwanzaa, right? You are literally demonstrating the principles in your art, in the actions of the main character, and in the actions of the community, right? Economic cooperation is so evident in this book. So I guess I just want to know, what is your history with Kwanzaa, and do you still celebrate it? And another part is, how do you see Kwanzaa affecting our community in here in Philadelphia right now, modernly?
Well, it's interesting because I think last year was the 50th year, I believe. Yeah, for Kwanzaa, it was the 50th anniversary. And we've been celebrating it. Yeah, my daughters, we've been celebrating it over 40 years.
Wow.
We've been celebrating it every year. And it's really helped us a lot as a family. When I think a few years ago when I was doing the talk in the book, a woman came up to me, and I just thought this was fantastic what she does with her family and her children. But she says, they've been celebrating Kwanzaa every year, and I think her children, she had 3 children, they were like under the age of 10, I knew that. And she said what they decided to do, because they really love the principles, is anytime a child demonstrates one of the principles, like if they demonstrate unity, bringing people together or something like that, throughout the year, they give them something like a little token or something, just to reinforce what they're doing. And so because of that, they are always thinking about ways that they can better their community, ways that they can improve their house, or even in terms of school, trying to be excellent and trying to do good in school because of what that means. And, I just thought that was a wonderful idea. And, I would like to, I said I was going to mention it to my children for my grants, but I haven't done that yet. So perhaps we can start that next year. But I just thought it was a beautiful way to incorporate it throughout the year so it never leaves you, and she would actually have it written up on a board, that this child showed Kujichakwaliya by doing this, so they got that kind of recognition. And they also got like a little toy or something that they like, something small, just like as a token.
That's beautiful.
Like as a reward for what they had done. And I think that's a very important way to do it too, so you don't forget.
That's right.
Because most of these principles, they're very practical. And, it wouldn't be hard for us to do if we could just, be more reminded to do that. One of the things that's happened, I think, because of this year, more and more people are supporting Black businesses. And I think that's wonderful. That's one of the things that happened. And I think people are trying to become more unified. Right. Black people as a community, right. Trying to become more unified. So perhaps, with everything that's going on, that's one of the more positive things that we can get out of 2020. That perhaps we're living by the 7 principles more than we have before.
That's right.
But I've been celebrating it, quite some time. And if you do watch the video at the end, if we have that.
I don't think we're going to be able to load it.
Oh, okay.
But this video will be edited and sent out and posted on YouTube, so we may be able to actually sync them together, so we can do it that way.
And again, it's she's on eTeaches 365. But she actually, her and her husband and their 2 children had a picture taken with Ron Karenga, his wife, last year.
Who's that?
The founder. Yeah. Ron Karenga is the founder.
I'm still learning. We celebrated kind of 1 year when I was in 2nd grade. And literally
you remember that?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I remember because I remember we were celebrating it, and I think one day I got an orange. And I cried. And I was Brian. He got an apple or something. And he was expecting a toy. So he just started, kids want the toys. And we were like, this is no fun. We're getting fruit. Let's go to the grocery store. But This book has been a reintroduction. I mean, Isabella is now the Kwanzaa expert of the house, so she'll have to teach us.
Okay.
You know,
And get all the help get all the materials together.
That's right, and we can certainly implement this practice. I think it's a beautiful
I
practice.
think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, so we have 26 to get prepared. Day after Christmas is when Kwanzaa starts. Wonderful. So I think I just want to we're gonna maybe have a closing statement or reading from our author, and if anyone would like to have any questions or comments read, you could do so in the chat. Mr. Leon's in the background. He might be able to shout them out to us if they populate. No. So no questions or comments. Email us at the end if you do have any questions or comments, because we're having a little bit of behind the scenes technical issues. If you'd like to comment on the I don't know what's Leon, you can speak.
Well, it's difficult to operate the computer and the camera.
Okay.
I don't have the remote control.
Well, we thank everyone for being present here with us. We are going to close the programming out with a comment and reading from Miss Eloise. And just so you know, this is an ongoing series that we'll do until actually Black History Month. We'll be spotlighting local Black artists and healers. They'll be sharing their work and ways to engage in the future. So thank you all for being here with us today for this presentation. And we'll have Ms. Eloise close out.
Okay, I did want to mention the supplement because I have a teaching background, and as parents are trying to figure out things to do with their children, I know that's stressing a lot of people out right now.
Yeah.
There's actually a teacher's supplement in the back of the book that reinforces everything that's in the book. The first question is, what is Kwanzaa? And you can have your child or children define it in their words. What is the Nguzazaba? What are the Kwanzaa symbols? Getting the main idea, evaluation. Were you confused by any part of this story? African history. Who is Hatshepsut? Do you remember what she did for her country? Relate to your own experience, and have you ever had a goal that seemed almost impossible to reach? Second one is, how did you go about achieving your goal? Were you successful? And I think all of these questions, they help to teach about the book and about African history and about Kwanzaa, because it gets your child to think. One of the things that our children are missing now is critical thinking. And it starts at a very young age.
Yes.
They need to get that brain working.
That's right.
And asking questions like this and having activities like this, I think would be very helpful. Write a letter to the king or queen of a country. You never know, you might get a response, you know. Make a map of Aisha's neighborhood. Make a map showing where Mali and Timbuktu are located today. Make a doll that looks like Aisha. So these are all different things that you can do with your children. And at the very end of the book, as Brandon says, Aisha has grown up, and it ends with her running into a little boy named Rashid, and he wants his hair put in braids. So Aisha escorted him to the living room and told him to sit in a braiding chair. Aisha's father introduced himself and continued playing his saxophone softly. He didn't know why, but he had been inspired to write a song. "You have very thick hair. It will braid well." As she began to rub the oils onto his hair, she asked, "Do you know who you are?" "Yeah, I told you my name is Rashid." "Well, Rashid, you are also an African American young man, because your ancestors are from a beautiful kingdom in Africa." As she parted his hair and rubbed the oils into his scalp, Rashid went into a deep, deep sleep. And if her father had remained in the room, he would have seen a soft glow of light emanating from Aisha and surrounding Rashid and the braiding chair. And as they traveled through the sky, back through time, Aisha and Rashid's spirals blew in the spirals of the wind. He was standing at the entrance to a huge building and beautiful gardens. It was the University of Sankore in Timbuktu, in the ancient Mali Empire.
Oh.
So, a lot of people have asked me, well, where's the book about the boy?
That's
Yes,
That's
the
it.
series.
I'm going to be poking you every time I
I
see
keep saying
you.
the man has to write it.
Oh, okay. All right. That's our task, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Tell the people where they can find you, how they can work with
Okay.
you, or find the book as well.
All right. I'm also a licensed acupuncturist, so I also do acupuncture. You can find me at, well, I'll give you my email. It's Eloise, Eloise.Prescott@gmail.com. And you can also call me 267-240-5109. And you can contact
Yeah.
through Wissahickon Wellness.
WissaHickenWellness.com. All the information is up there. And to buy the book, they email you as well, correct?
Yeah,
By
that's why I gave the
Aisha's
email.
Carnivore.
Or you can call, you can contact Wissahickon Wellness.
Yes, and please do so. Please
It's a
buy the
wonderful
book.
book.
Oh my gosh, read it to your children, read it yourself, learn about Kwanzaa, and thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll end the Zoom, and thank you all for being here. We're good. Thank you, Leon. Thank you so much. That was great. That was great.
Oh.
Yeah, man, we gotta get the studio up. This is, I mean,
It's coming.
It just needs to be.
Yeah, it's looking great
a
out
lot,
there.
A lot simpler.
Yeah.
You know, basically, just need to get people in chairs, throw the lights on, and go.
Okay.
Have you seen the new? Have you seen it recently?
I was in there a little bit yesterday, but.
Oh, okay. You saw it cleared out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're getting close.
Yeah. I mean, that's that. So whoever it is, can just sit down in a couple comfy chairs and put the power on. And,
Stuff is already there.
yeah, it's like I shouldn't have to. You shouldn't see the camera moving in a live thing. It should be camera on you.
And then.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting there. This was a good first time though.
You're such a good interviewer, and you're such a good interviewee.
Oh, really?
You are awesome.
I thought
Yes.
it was phenomenal. And you were great
Yes.
too.
You were
great, too.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, but he leads really, really well.
Yeah.
Really good.
I'm so comfortable. You put me at ease. You did.